All right, well, hello, ladies and gentlemen, friends and people of the internet. Thank you for checking out another episode of the 15-Minute BJ Podcast. This is an exciting episode because for the first time ever, we've got a touring band, a big deal here on the show. So without any further ado, welcome, Fox and Bones.
Hey, thanks for having us, BJ.
Thank you so much for having us.
So the band is comprised of two people. We've got
Yes.
Scott and Sarah.
Yes.
Correct.
Scott is the boy, Sarah is the girl.
Most of the time.
Yeah,
Most.
depends on the night.
Right. Did you just assume our band gender? So I met you guys last night at the Tipsy Crow doing the mixed mic night that I host over there, and instantly I wanted to have you guys on the show, so I'm glad that you guys came out. Thank you for giving me the time of day for this.
Oh, absolutely.
bet.
It's our pleasure.
Worked out perfectly. We had a day off, so.
Yeah, as traveling musicians, I mean, there's not a bad place to land in San Diego, so good job.
It's
Not
gorgeous
bad at all.
around here.
So where are you guys from? Give us a little bit of backstory about the band.
Definitely. So we're from Portland, Oregon. That's where we met. I actually grew up just outside of Portland, so I'm a native, and Scott grew up in Northern California, but has spent the last 10 years in Portland, and we both had our own rock bands, and kind of, through the scene in Portland, started to hear each other's names, and then Scott came out to one of my shows. He was friends with my manager at the time, and he was working on some stuff with him business-wise, and also had been stalking me on Facebook for a few weeks, and so
That is correct.
yeah,
That's how all moves in the music industry happen, creeping on people.
Little light stalking.
light stalking. It worked though, because he didn't lead with that. So
You wait until the second date to tell them you've been stalking them.
yeah, and then you're like hooked, so it's fine.
But then it's too late.
But we pretty much met at my show and talked about writing a song together, and I think our first song, we wrote most of it over Facebook Messenger. So Scott recorded something that he had come up with on the piano, and I sent him back some lyrics, and by the time we met up, we had almost an entire song.
That's great. And I've got your EP, your self-titled EP, Fox and Bones.
Mm-hmm.
I'm listening to it all day. It's really good. And how many of those instruments are you playing? Because there's a lot of features on there, right?
Yeah, so luckily enough, my other band up in Portland, Just People, has some phenomenal musicians. And a quick plug, my guitarist has moved down here to San Diego. So if you want the best lead guitarist that you could ever want, I'm whoring him out, trying to get him some gigs. Reach out to BJ here, or find us at Fox and Bones Music. But we had a lot of people from Just People play on that. Peter Marcotte does a little guitar. Todd G, our bassist, does some bass. I think Steve Amon does some piano on it, and then Alex Green does a little percussion on it as well. So we luckily enough, starting as a duo, also had kind of the backing of a band that we could bring into the studio, and people that we knew worked well in those conditions, and who could fit, and who we knew could trust with those songs and with those parts.
It's good to have friends, isn't it?
Yes,
It really is. Yeah.
I know none of my shit would ever get recorded if I didn't have friends. so-
Absolutely.
So what would you guys describe your sound as, your style, or like what are your influences?
Well, we've kind of branded ourselves as folk for a while, simply because it's, acoustic and it's a lot of storytelling and stuff, but it's really evolving into more of a folk pop sound, because it's kind of got these elements of soul that like make it more than just your basic folk song. But the first album, our first long play album that we released is actually a conceptual album. And so it tells a story from front to back about these quasi-fictional characters called Fox and Bones, and they, have parallels to us, but it also gave us this creative license to think outside of the box with our songwriting, and not just write about our experiences, but kind of try to project our experiences onto a character and have a little bit more leeway with them. And so we're really proud of that album, and just, how it turned out, and with the production and everything, it did come out very folky, but with the kind of new efforts we're doing, we're going a little bit more in a pop direction.
So we have a new single that just came out today. It's internationally released tomorrow, which would be October 6th. I'm not sure when you're listening to this out in the airwaves, but that definitely has more of those kind of has a little bit more of a pop grasp on it. We really honed this song to be like this 3-minute and 30-second hooky, deep feeling type of song with a really driving beat, but also still has that kind of same folk roots to it. So that one we really put the time in. Like at the end of the first 2 days in the studio, I know Sarah and I were like, "This is a great song," and then our producer Dominic kind of looked at us and said, "It's not there yet. We have to redo it." It's like so it was one of those.
Always the producers.
Yeah.
Always the producers. Never
That's
has
why we
been.
hire them, but
Yeah, but that's like in a way that's kind of one thing that we needed was I think both of us are used to like this is our song and this is what it is and deal with it and like having someone there to say like do better like really although you don't want to hear that in the time like as time progresses like that's the right decision. We need to create something that that's gonna last and putting that extra time into it really helps.
So how long have you guys been in the game then? It sounds like you've been doing this for a while.
I mean, yeah, I guess individually we have, as a band, it's about a year and 9 months into the project. So we've done a lot in a very short time with this project, but I think that's because Scott and I both brought our backgrounds in music, and Scott especially, has released 10 albums or something like that, but on your own. And
I've released a lot of albums, not all good albums. Actually, Sarah and I listened to one of them driving down the coast a little bit ago, and it doesn't hold up. It was one of my first albums, and it's something special.
Isn't very entertaining.
Yeah,
so.
it's entertaining, but it's yeah. I've always been graced with unnatural confidence, like thinking this is the best thing ever, and listening back to some of those songs, I'm like, oh, you could have worked on those.
Albums are
much like a producer,
much like children in that way. If you're not happy with the first one, just keep making them.
Yeah, just keep on doing it. It'll be fine.
Yeah, and I think that's why we make a good team sometimes is because I'm more like everything sucks and I would rather not it's not perfect yet, so I don't want to show it to anybody type of thing. And Scott's like everything is great and awesome, and so the finding that middle ground has been helpful because sometimes I'll write a song and it'll never see the light of day. So
Awesome. So you definitely come across as experienced musicians. It comes very, very clearly into what you're doing, and it's cool because you said you've only been doing it for about a year and a half, but already you're on tour, and then you're going to be going over to Europe. So tell us a little bit about the tour life. Tell us about how this all came to be and how you got this out of Portland.
yeah.
Well, we kind of had a little step up on touring just because I've booked 9 or 10 tours with my older band, Just People. So we already at least had the kind of baseline of how to book tours and how to make them successful. And knowing that, with a little bit of planning and due diligence, you can, just go on the road. And if you play enough gigs, you won't starve. And meet some nice people here and there. It'll work out. So we booked our own U.S. tour as Fox and Bones last year. And based on just, a lot of venues, but also with a folk act, you can kind of open up to house shows, which has become really what the middle ground, almost like our favorite way to perform is, because then you go into someone's home and you have people's full attention and you have an ability to really make craft a particular show that won't happen again in a way. It's very intimate and it feels right. And then also being out on the road, it tends to lead into a place to stay too. So all the kind of pitfalls of touring in the US, which is all right, how are we going to make money? Where are we going to stay? Kind of can be taken care of with house shows. But Europe was one of the first things that we kind of stepped into when we started working with Dominic, our producer, for Roll of Music. He was born in Austria, and so he lives in the U.S. a lot, but he also kind of visits Austria, and so he has those territories pretty locked up. So he's been booking for 7 or 8 years over there, and so we work with him. Then he makes sure we're taken care of in Europe and books all the shows. And since we had such a good tour over there last time, we didn't even lose money, which is great.
That's
is unheard of in the music industry.
Yeah.
It's
You're the
crazy.
first
Yeah.
band to have ever done that.
Yeah.
Now it might have been by $4 to $5, but we still we slid on in there. But since that worked well, he was able to kind of expand our footprint a little bit and get us a few more gigs this next time around. And ideally, at a certain point, we'll be going back there twice a year for a month or so, and just that'll be kind of part of our loop. We'll do 3 months around the U.S., a month or 2 in Europe, and then maybe 3 or 4 months on cruise ship playing musician.
Nice yacht music.
Yes.
Yeah. Yep.
So that'll be the most stationary while also mobile we will be.
Yeah.
So,
Definitely got to learn a few yacht rock songs then.
yes.
Oh, yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
So that is awesome. It's amazing to hear people that are, coming out of the folk scene that are so driven and able to do this. Because, myself and circle of friends around me, like we're all still struggling to break into that. Like I managed to lose money on shows in San Diego, so
Oh yeah.
Well, but to be
mad
honest,
props for being able to get to Europe and come back with $4.
I think that's a lot of time staying in town, because we have also had struggles sometimes in our hometown as well, where people will come out to our farewell show, they'll come out to our welcome home show, but then all the shows in between, they're like,
I've seen the
it.
welcome home
See ya.
show.
Oh, they already
Anytime.
came home. What are you playing? Another show?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I think it can be it's been easier for us traveling to almost put together like a budget, or put together, some sort of sustainable income, just because it's new experiences every time, and a lot of times it's seeing friends and family, and so it's kind of that, that we're gonna leave tomorrow lifestyle, where it's like, all right, let's make the most of tonight, or let's make the most of this show. Whereas, if you're in your hometown, people are like, we can just go get lunch tomorrow.
Yeah.
And so it's definitely an interesting balance.
And I think too, a lot of our successes come from just having a ton of merchandise, because we, that's what made Europe such a success. And then when you're on the road, I mean, when you're playing shows in town all the time, people who come out, if it's the same people over and over, they're not going to buy something unless it's new, or they're sick of seeing your stuff. But on the road, every night you're hitting a new audience that hasn't seen all of what you have. And so, I mean, we not only sell our CDs for Fox and Bones plus our solo albums, but we sell like fox ears and jewelry and fox tails, and we have like 3 different shirts that people can choose from. And so a lot of our financial success has really come from selling merchandise.
That's so cool. You guys have it so put together. I'm just sitting here in awe. It's amazing.
It's the only way to do it. At least when we're out on the road and we're like, all right, because we'll play free gigs too. We'll play all sorts of gigs, but the merch really kind of brings it home, because it gives people like, oh, we like that. There's a chance, And CDs, not only, especially in this day and age, people don't even have CD players all the time. So like having
Yeah,
like
you gotta have
a
another
necklace
option.
or
Totally.
Download cards, anything. Yeah.
Mhm, exactly.
It's so cool. And you guys actually played, speaking of, playing places for free, you probably played Last Call, where I used to live above.
Yeah, oh yeah, that I was talking about that with my guitarist Peter Marcotte, who you all should hire, by the way. Once again, Peter Marcotte, living in the area, best guitarist in
ever.
Yeah, we played there as the full band, and we got put together with apparently similar bands, but there was 2 punk bands, and then it was us, and Just People is definitely it's more on the psychedelic rock side, but we definitely got called Maroon 5 motherfuckers. So like, you guys, I don't know if we can curse all the podcast.
Oh,
Pretty sure.
absolutely.
Okay. Like, you Maroon 5 motherfuckers? We're like, well, all right, cool.
That's
Well, sorry, man. I'm just not a big fan of Maroon
No.
5. I didn't mean to hurt your feelings and shit.
Yeah, Just People's not punk at all.
Not at all. And that bar
It's
is
close.
something
You're right.
else.
You're right up close too. Like
Yeah, the stage is about 2 feet
Yeah,
wide
so
by
good.
1 foot long, and
Oh my god.
yeah, and then you're
how
right in front of all the
funny.
people with their beers and their bad breath
Right,
and
yeah.
guns. Who knows? It's definitely a rough spot. I love that area, and I love most of the people in that bar. But every once in a while,
It was a
some
class. It was a
crazies.
classic gig. That's for sure.
so that is a good segue into my next question, because usually people ask me like, "What's the best thing about touring? What's your favorite memory?" I want to know. You got any horror stories from touring
Oh geez.
other than Last Call?
Well, I think my favorite, and then you can share one if you have a
Yeah.
different one. And I don't know if horror story, like a touring horror story, is the right way, but it was just one of the roughest points on tour. We were in the U.S. and we had just played. We had like 3 gigs in San Antonio, and the first gig went amazing, and we met the owners of the bar and had just like this crazy fun night. But I think it was like a little too crazy and fun, because I think we stayed up till like 4 or 5 in the morning, and he's an older guy, and so the next day he was like, "That was really fun, but like, whew, that was a lot." And we were kind of like, we don't want to overstay our welcome and like see if we can stay with him again, because he was already like offering up his home. So the next night we were like, okay, well, we'll just get a motel and just like be comfortable and like have our space. But apparently it was spring break in San Antonio, and people go there for spring break. So it was really expensive. Even the Motel 6s were like over $100, and we were like, that's not really our thing. So we tried to find the cheapest hotel we could that was within the area. We drove an hour out of San Antonio to a place called Carnes City, Texas, and stayed in this motel. It was $50, and it was the like classic nightmare motel story with like cockroaches and
Blood still on the curtains.
just like like really like uncomfortable bed, and like we saw the cockroach. In fact, at one point it was crawling over Scott's shoulder, and he managed to like hide that fact from me because I was already so like.
Well, it's important to make friends when out on the road, you know.
Yeah.
So. We were on the edge.
We were on the edge, and so we had a really rough sleep that night, and it was definitely one of those get what you pay for situations. But I don't know. Do you have a?
I have a particular memory from last call where there was someone outside who's kind of begging for a couple bucks. Our drummer Alex gave him $1, and then later in that evening he tipped Alex back that same $1. But so we're hanging out outside, and he goes like, "Hey!" and does a big whistle, and then we're like, "What are you whistling at?" He's like, "There's hookers over there," and he runs off down this alleyway. We're like, that's pretty classic.
There definitely are hookers there.
Oh my god!
Turns out he was right.
Absolutely, and he was probably going to use that $1 for hookers. So good thing he gave it back, you know.
Thank you, sirs. I'll just be on my way.
That's a good one.
Oh, that's funny.
Man, I'm so glad that my old home could be your horror story.
That was fun though. I must admit, it's everything when you're on the road. It kind of has a little, even good times, bad times. It still has a little bit of a glow, just because it's unique. You know, it's not all the time. It's like, all right, these experiences stand out, and remember them, and they become the things you laugh about years later. So.
Oh, I have another good one from this last tour. And this was before weed was legalized in California, but we realized
Wait, it wasn't always legal? What?
I know, right? I had like, and I don't even really smoke weed, but we were like ruffling through my glove box in Northern California, and I found like a whole like bag of weed and a pipe that had been in there for a year and a half.
Thank you, Santa.
Yeah, it was like my friends when we crossed, went into Canada, and so that was kind of funny. We're like, oh, we've been just driving across
musicians and
state
drug
lines
smugglers.
with
I like it.
drugs. Yeah.
Like, so confidently.
But we gifted it to Scott's mom, and she was very stoked,
Yes.
and then it kept us safe the rest of the time. Yeah.
It didn't even become tour weed. That is very noble of you. I would have been like, I
we
found weed.
both
I'm gonna make this last.
Yeah.
I've already got it to Canada. I can make it work.
This is magic. It can go anywhere.
We both suck at smoking weed, so. I wouldn't
And
have
you're
done much
Pacific
good.
Northwesterners.
I know,
I doubt
I
that very
know.
much. You're probably just short selling yourselves. Got a
We
couple
like
of
to we like to stay humble.
discreet snoops over here. Well, I think it's about time. It's 15-minute BJ, but we're going a little bit over. That's cool. I don't mind. This is a great conversation.
We're having fun.
But it is a music podcast, so I'd like to have you play our first song, and
Got it.
I will let you choose which song it's going to be, whether it's the one I want or the one you want first.
We let's do warm. I
Yeah.
think we all want that one.
All right, good. That is the one that I wanted. So let me just.
That was a good start.
Don't worry, we'll
that
auto tune it.
All right.
There's a lot of auto tune in folk music these days, right?
Yeah, totally.
They've been traveling down the road so long they didn't know which way was home. She talked about her mother. Did she cry when she discovered a girl was gone? Having no family to speak of, he solemnly drove eastward through the storm. They were warm. Were together. They were warm. They were together. Through the wild and rugged wilderness, they pillaged for their own begotten souls, accepting gifts from strangers, taking them by force to fit a rose. The days it did not eat, it grew easier to make peace with what they stole. They were warm. They were together. They were warm. They were together. Oh.
No money in their pocket, getting dark and fuels are running low. Pulled over at the truck stop to get their share the only way they know. Not a soul in sight, they had to spend their night out in the cold. They were warm, they were together. Oh, they were warm, they were together.
Oh, yes. The internet is clapping right now. You just gave the internet the clap. Congratulations.
On the 15-minute BJ.
That song is so good. I get chills listening to that song. I
thank
love it.
you.
Thank you guys for playing that.
got it.
Yeah, you bet.
All right, so that last song was called Warm. What is this next one?
This next one is called Love Me Like a River.
Is this the new one?
This is
the
a new one.
This is
big
brand
one, the
new
world's
single,
second premiere.
yeah.
World's second premiere right here.
On the 15-minute BJ. You heard it second here, folks.
Dark as a nighttime, close as you can, fierce as an animal with a hunger for expanse. You gotta love me as only a woman can. Song with seduction, stitched in by hand, born with veracity, a seditionary trance. You gotta love me as only a woman can. You gotta love me, all that I can stand. Love me like a river runs through your head. Hold me like the only thing I'd ever understand. Speak to me in shadows, revealing light. Be the fire that burns away the layers of my mind. Love me like a river. Burns like a wildfire, ravaging the land. High like destruction, raging from the devil's hand. You gotta love me. Oh, you gotta love me like a man. You gotta love me. All that I can stand. Love me like a river runs through your head. Hold me like the only thing I'd ever understand. Speak to me in shadows, revealing light. Be the fire that burns away the layers of my mind. Love me like a river runs through your hands. Hold me like the only thing I'd ever understand. Speak to me in shadows, revealing light. Be the fire that burns away the layers of my mind. Love me like a river. Color you sideways, you color me black and blue. I'll shake your ground and you won't know what hit you. I'll be a circle, you be whatever you choose. You let me shapeshift, you can taste this food.
Excellent job. Thank you guys.
Thanks so much.
Thank you.
And it's going to do it for this episode of the 15 Minute BJ. But before we go, I want to say thank you to Scott and Sarah, Fox and Bones, for coming in and giving us some songs and some stories.
Absolutely.
And I'll give you guys an opportunity to give any more shout outs to let people know where to find your music.
Yeah.
I'll put all the links and stuff in the links on this video, but it's always nice to hear it in your voices. So
Fantastic.
the last couple minutes is yours.
Yeah, you can find us all over social media at Fox and Bones. On the web, foxandbones.com. Anything else, Sarah?
Yeah, we're pretty easy to find, but sometimes if you search us, you'll find the show Bones on Fox. So it definitely helps, like on YouTube, if you're searching, type in Fox and Bones Warm, and you'll always find us.
Better than what they find when they Google my name, trust me.
Depends on the time of night, you know?
Yeah, sure,
What
sure,
you looking
Yeah,
for,
what are you
really?
looking
Yeah.
Well, thank you guys for coming out. This is the 15 Minute BJ, and thank you guys for listening. Make sure you guys like, share, subscribe, do whatever, and go find Fox and Bones on the internet. And if you can, if they're in your town, go find them in your town because these guys are awesome. They're great performers and really nice people. They'll sit down, they'll have a beer with you. They might even smoke weed, even though they don't smoke weed with you. And then they'll accept the weed, and then they'll give it to Scott's mom. So, maybe don't give them weed, but, take care of them. Take care of these people. These are great people. And, follow them to Germany. Fuck it. Just,
Come along.
Yeah.
treat them like the dead. Just take them out there and follow them all the way around the world. Thank you guys for listening. Thank you, Fox and Bones, for being here.
Thank
That's
you.
another 15 Minute BJ in the can. Goodbye.